Welcome to our channel. Many people think they have a weak memory, but the truth is different. Your brain is not the problem. The real issue is how you are using it. First, you forget things quickly. You study something today, but tomorrow it feels gone. This happens not because your brain cannot store information, but because the information is not being stored in the right way. Second, your brain is not weak. In fact, the human brain is extremely powerful. Learn new things every day. The problem is not capacity, it is attention and practice. Third, your method is wrong. Many people try to learn by just reading or watching once, but memory does not work like that. Without repetition, practice, and real understanding, when you improve how you study, revise regularly, and engage with information, your memory becomes stronger, faster, and more reliable over time. Memory is not something magical or fixed. It is a powerful system inside your brain that stores, processes, and recalls information. Understanding how memory works can help you improve learning. First, memory is a brain storage system. Your brain collects information from everything you see, hear, and experience. It stores this information in different parts of the brain. Some memories stay for a short time, while others become long-term depending on how often you use or repeat them. Just like a computer, your brain stores experiences, knowledge. Second, memory is information recall power. Having a good memory is not only about storing information, but also about how easily you can bring it back when needed. For example, when you remember a word in English, a lesson you studied, or a past experience, your brain is actively recalling stored data. Third, memory is built with practice. Many people think memory is something you are born with, but the truth is it improves with repetition and training. When you revise information, practice regularly, and actively engage with what you learn, the more you use your memory, the stronger it becomes over time. The truth is simple. Memory is not fixed, it is trained. Just like muscles become stronger with exercise, your brain becomes sharper with practice. When you understand how memory works and use the right learning methods, you can improve your focus, retention, and overall ability to learn new things more effectively every day. Passive learning is when you take in information without really engaging your brain. It feels like learning, but in reality, very little is being stored in your memory. First, reading without thinking is a common form of passive learning. Many people read books, notes, or watch videos, but their mind is not fully focused. They are looking at the words, but not truly understanding or questioning them. Without attention, the information does not stay in the mind for long. Second, there is no active recall. Active recall means trying to remember what you learned without looking at the source. In passive learning, this step is missing. You simply read once and move on without testing yourself or practicing the information. Because of this, the brain does not strengthen the memory connections. Third, forgetting happens quickly. Since the brain is not actively involved, the information fades away in a short time. After a few hours or days, it becomes difficult to remember or use it. When you replace passive learning with active thinking, practice, and repetition, your memory becomes stronger and your learning becomes more effective and long-lasting. In today's world, distractions are everywhere, and they are one of the biggest reasons. People struggle to learn and remember things effectively. First, the phone reduces focus, constant notifications, social media, and endless scrolling keep your mind busy but not productive. Every time you check your phone, your attention breaks and it becomes harder to return to deep thinking. Over time, this habit trains your brain to stay distracted instead of focused. Second, there is no deep attention. Real learning happens when your mind stays fully engaged with one task. But when you are multitasking or switching between apps, videos, and messages, your brain never reaches deep focus. Without deep attention, understanding becomes weak and learning becomes shallow. Third, weak memory signals are created. Memory is built when the brain pays strong attention to information. But distractions reduce the strength of these signals. As a result, the brain cannot store information properly, and you forget things quickly even after studying them. The truth is simple. Your memory is not only affected by what you study, but also by how focused you are while studying. When you reduce distractions and protect your attention, your focus improves. Your understanding becomes deeper and your memory becomes much stronger. Many people think learning something once is enough, but that is not how memory works. Without revision, even important information slowly disappears from your mind. First, learning once is not enough. When you study something only one time, your brain does not treat it as important. It is like seeing something briefly and then forgetting it. Second, there is no repetition. Repetition is what strengthens memory. When you repeat what you learn, your brain builds stronger connections. But if you do not revise, those connections stay weak, and the information does not become long-term knowledge. Third, information fades away. The brain naturally forgets things that are not used. If you do not revise, what you learn today may disappear in a few days. When you make revision a habit, your memory becomes stronger. Your understanding improves, and you are able to recall information more easily and confidently. Active recall is one of the most powerful ways to improve your memory and learning. Instead of just reading or watching, you actively challenge your brain to remember information. First, test your memory. After learning something, close your book or stop the video and try to remember what you just studied. This simple action forces your brain to work. Second, try to remember first. Before looking at the answer, make an effort to recall the information on your own. Even if you make mistakes, this effort is very important. Third, then check answers. After trying to remember, compare your answer with the correct information. This helps you see what you got right. When you practice active recall regularly, your brain becomes faster, sharper, and more confident in remembering and using information. Spaced repetition is one of the smartest ways to train your brain so you don't forget what you learn. Most people think they are bad at memory, but the real problem is not memory. Think about your daily life. You hear a new English word in a video, you understand it in that moment, and you feel confident. But after a few hours, it disappears from your mind. It works because your brain trusts repeated information. One-time learning is treated as unimportant, but repeated information becomes important data for your mind. This is why you remember your phone password, favorite song lyrics, or popular movie dialogues even without trying. You didn't study them. You simply saw or heard them again and again over time. Writing is one of the simplest but most powerful tools for learning. Many people only read or listen, but they forget quickly. First, writing improves memory. When you write something in your own words, your brain processes the information more deeply. It is not just seeing or hearing anymore. Even writing small things like new English words, sentences, or daily lessons can greatly improve your learning speed and confidence over time. Learning becomes much stronger when you don't store information as separate pieces, but connect it with what you already know. This simple habit can greatly improve your memory and understanding. First, link ideas together. When you learn something new, try to connect it with a word, idea, or experience you already understand. For example, if you learn the word focus, you can connect it with studying, working, or avoiding distractions. This link makes the new information easier to remember. Second, create mental patterns. Your brain loves patterns. When you connect similar ideas together, your mind starts building a structure. Third, it makes recall easier. When information is connected, your brain has multiple ways to remember it. One idea leads to another, and you can quickly bring the information. When you start connecting new information with old knowledge, your learning becomes faster, deeper, and much more natural over time. One of the most powerful ways to learn something is to teach it to someone else. When you explain an idea, your brain works harder and your understanding becomes much stronger. First, explain simply. When you teach, you cannot use complicated thinking. You naturally break ideas into simple words. This forces you to truly understand the topic instead of just remembering it. If you can explain something in simple language, it means you really understand it. Second, it improves understanding. When you try to teach, you quickly notice what you don't fully know. You may struggle to explain certain parts, and that shows you where your gaps are. Third, it strengthens memory. Teaching is like active practice for your brain. When you repeat information in your own words, your memory becomes stronger. Even if you don't have a partner, you can still teach by speaking out loud to yourself. This simple habit can greatly improve your confidence, understanding, and long-term memory. Focused attention is one of the most powerful skills for learning and success. It means giving your full mind to one task instead of dividing your attention everywhere. First, no multitasking. Many people try to do many things at the same time, watching videos, checking messages, and studying together, but this weakens your learning. Second, deep concentration. Real learning happens when your mind is fully present. When you focus on one thing, like a lesson or a conversation, your brain goes deeper into understanding. Third, strong brain signals. When you give full attention to something, your brain creates strong memory connections. These signals help you remember information for a long time. When you practice focused attention daily, your brain becomes sharper. Your understanding improves, and your memory becomes much stronger. Your brain works best when you take care of it with simple daily habits. Good mental performance is not only about studying harder, it is about living in a healthy and balanced way. First, good sleep is essential. When you sleep properly, your brain gets time to repair, organize information, and store memories. Lack of sleep makes it harder to focus, think clearly. Second, proper rest is important. Your brain cannot work at full speed all the time. Short breaks during study, relaxation, and time away from screens help your mind reset. Third, a balanced lifestyle keeps your brain strong. This means managing your time between learning, physical activity, and relaxation. When your life is balanced, your mind stays calm. When you take care of your sleep, rest, and lifestyle, your memory improves. Your focus becomes stronger, and your learning becomes much easier and more effective. Many people think they have a weak memory, but most of the time the real problem is lack of focus and the wrong learning habits. This is a simple story of someone who transformed their learning. First, they were forgetting everything daily. They would study something in the morning and forget it by the evening. English words, lessons, and ideas never stayed in their mind. Second, they started using simple techniques. Instead of studying for long hours, they changed their method. They began using focused attention, active recall, and short revision sessions. Third, they saw a big improvement over time. Slowly, their memory became stronger. They could remember words more easily, understand lessons better, and recall information without stress. When they changed their learning style, their focus increased, their understanding became clearer, and their confidence in learning grew day by day. Many people believe memory is something you are born with. Either you have a strong memory or you don't, but the truth is very different. Memory is a skill, and like any skill, it can be trained and improved. First, memory is not a fixed ability. Your brain is not locked in one level forever. It changes based on how you use it. If you practice remembering things, your brain becomes better at storing and recalling information. If you don't use it, it becomes weak over time. Second, memory improves with practice. When you repeat information, test yourself, and actively recall what you learn, your brain builds stronger connections. This makes it easier to remember things quickly and clearly. The more you practice, the stronger your memory becomes. Third, daily training matters. Small daily habits like revising lessons, learning new words, or recalling information without looking can make a huge difference over time. Even a few minutes of focused practice every day is more powerful than studying for hours once in a while. Even a few minutes of focused practice every day is more powerful than studying for hours once in a while. When you train your memory daily, you become a faster learner, a better thinker, and more confident in what you know. Repetition is one of the simplest but most powerful secrets of learning. Many people try to learn something once and expect to remember it forever. First, repeat to remember. When you see, hear, or practice something, Multiple times, your brain starts recognizing it as important. That is when information moves from short-term memory to long-term memory. Without repetition, even important lessons fade quickly. Second, it builds strong recall. When you repeat information, your brain creates stronger connections. This makes it easier to remember things when you need them. For example, if you repeat English words daily, you will not struggle to recall them during speaking or writing. Your response becomes faster and more natural. You can improve your memory no matter where you are starting from today. Many people believe they are forgetful or slow learners, but the truth is that memory can always be trained. Start simple today. You don't need complicated methods or long study hours. Just begin with small steps like remembering a few words, revising a short lesson, or practicing recall for a few minutes. Stay consistent always. Improvement does not happen in one day, it happens through daily practice. When you repeat, revise, and actively use what you learn every day, when you believe in your ability to improve and take small, consistent steps, you slowly transform the way you learn, think, and remember. Get simple, powerful English lessons every day to build your vocabulary, speaking skills, and confidence step by step.